let's get to it.
Let's
Let's
kick
get
things off. So
to it.
yeah, we are here. The time has arrived,
Yeah.
and yeah, we hope everybody tuning in. We hope that y'all having a fantastic day, fantastic evening, wherever you are hailing from. Like we said, we got a global audience in here. People from everywhere: Atlanta, Cali. Some people from the continent, London, Toronto. So yeah, definitely appreciate y'all tuning in for the first ever 40 series online experience. My name is Warren Jones. I'm here in the Bay Area, San Francisco, California, co-founder of Toasted Life. We are an entertainment, lifestyle, and leisure brand. We curate and produce events and experiences for people of color. Um, and one of the things that we created about 3 years ago was the 40 series, meant to be an in-person, invite-only opportunity for us to give our community access to professional growth, to hear from leaders like Glow and other creators and innovators for, to knowledge share, to get inspiration, and most importantly, connect and build relationships. So, obviously, given the times, we wanted to bring this more broadly to people, and hence now we have the digital sphere,
Do it.
turning up. And yeah, so today, we're super excited to have Glow in our midst and having a really good conversation. I met Glow last year. She came on our trip that we did to Ghana last August, and that was our first time. Incredible energy, incredible story. Like, that was just one of many locations that she's been around to. But yeah, just a phenomenal woman. And we met up again in I think in Europe
Yeah.
for
France.
Zim's wedding, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's every time we connect, like, the energy is lit. And yeah, so I know we're gonna carry that on here, and I just wanted to obviously give people some inspiration. And given kind of where we are with the climate, like, online is super important right now. Creating digital experiences and being able to engage audiences is super important. So I'm going to go over the agenda, kind of like just how the flow is going to be. Me and you were going to have a conversation. Everybody that registered, thank you so much for your questions. Super helpful. And what I've done was put them into I've incorporated them into the conversation. So, if there are things that aren't answered throughout the conversation, we'll try our best to make sure that, Glow is able to answer them during the Q&A portion towards the end. And if we need to stay a little bit longer, you know what I mean, to answer some of the stuff, we could do that too. But and then last but not least, there is a survey that will pop up at the end. Please fill that out so we can get your feedback, and and get better, knowing that we're going to be doing a lot more of these online for the foreseeable future. So appreciate that. So yeah, let's get into it. So before we dive deep, how are you doing? How is Glow doing? Spiritually, mentally, emotionally? Like, what's up? Talk to me.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that, because it is so important. I think now that, like, when I'm having conversation with people, like, first and foremost, I'm like, yo, how are you doing? Like, for real. How you doing? How you feeling? You
Yeah.
know, energetically, spiritually, emotionally. People are thrown off a little bit, and I'm so thankful and just humbled by the self work and the journey that I've been on in the last year with my mental health. Because at a time like this, I think especially growing up around chaos, like almost chaos was almost like normalized to me. So right now I feel like I'm like, oh, this is just another day,
Mm,
and combining, my normally chaotic life with the self work that I've done, I feel at my best, like
mm,
energetically, emotionally. I just feel really good. And I'm very cognizant of how my day to day looks and what I'm doing to continue to pour into myself. Because it's very easy for me to feel like, okay, I'm feeling good, whoop to whoop, carry on as usual. I let the wrong person, come into my space and try to tell me, oh, fear this, worry about this, have
mm,
anxiety about this. So
mm,
as we're physically distancing, I tell people also practice virtual distancing,
mm,
do those mutes and unfollows for
mm.
people who are spreading a lot of toxic energy on the internet. And so
Yeah.
I've been so guarded with my virtual and emotional energy that I'm like, I feel good because I'm reading, I'm praying, I'm meditating, I'm doing the daily work to make sure I stay in this safe space. And it's so important for everyone else to understand that like it is a daily decision to be at your best.
For sure. I can definitely second that. Especially just because it is so easy to pull yourself into that dark hole of
Mhm.
just, negativity, or just like, really being fearful of the unknown, right? Like, we're
Right.
all in a space where there is no end date, right?
Right. Oh,
So like, oh, we're gonna go live in 2 weeks. No, we're not. Like, yeah. Like, so we don't really know what's happening. And people are so used to just being in control or living in those constructs of safety, or perceived safety, right? And like, I think just making, like you said, that daily decision to just practice your routine or do whatever it is you need to do to keep that mental peace is definitely key. So I'm glad that you are in wonderful spirits, and yeah, let's feel that energy. And we definitely want to feel the energy from y'all out there too. So definitely let's get the chat rolling too. We want to feel that electronic.
yeah, go ahead and rate your energy on a scale of 1 to 10. Go ahead and rate you guys' energy in the comments so I can see how you guys are also feeling. And be honest. It's important to embrace that like we are humans.
Mm,
We have this spectrum of emotions. If we try to suppress our worry and our fear and our anxiety instead of working through it and acknowledging that it's there, we're never going to overcome those emotions. So I love it. I'm seeing, okay, we got 1,000, we got 8s, 10s, 7s. Good, good. I think 7 and up is really healthy. Solid 7. That's dope. That's dope. Honestly, a hopeful 6. I'm here with you, Kelly. We got some 8s.
mm.
Dope, dope, dope.
Okay, cool. So yeah, like just reading through some of the questions, and I mean, your story is wild, right? Like, I'm just like, okay, 2013, after college, um, $500 to your name, you bought a one-way ticket to Europe. Like, you know, let's get into this journey of yours and how it started. But what really inspired you to just make that decision? And yeah, like,
Look, I just posted a video today about taking risk. When I tell you that that was probably one of the stupidest and best decisions I ever made, like if you go into every situation or new circumstance with the idea that everything has to look perfect and clean cut on paper, that's not what success looks like. It is never linear. It is never supposed to make sense up front. So
mm,
my visa was delayed to go to the UK. Like there were so many like roadblocks. There was so many delays in me trying to go there. Like randomly had to make a last minute payment to where I almost couldn't make my flight. Like there were so many things. And so when I got to Europe, I actually had less than $500. I think it was close to like 150. And I
mm,
was like, all right. But what I did have was a 4-month internship in the UK. So I was like, okay, look, I got housing and I've got food for at least 4 months. And by the time the internship ran up, what's also crazy is because I'm such a like, look, I'm the kind of person where I'm like, you don't know how much you need me yet. So I went into that internship and I was like, I'm gonna soak up all the like, yo, you need this, you need this. So all the departments that were there, like, oh, she's good at video editing, she's good at marketing, she's good at
mm,
leading, she could do group time, she could do presentations. So they were just like dishing me work and me
mm.
thinking like, oh, yo, I'm about to finesse this into a full-time position. They gonna realize that they can't work without me.
Right,
So I'm
right.
taking on all this work. I'm literally sleeping in the office of the building because it's like one big like manor castle building. It's a study abroad university. So where I studied abroad is actually where I got my internship. So I did
Awesome.
that for 4 months. And there was a change in leadership on my like last 2 week or my last month out. But the principal loved me. He was like, they call it a principal in the UK. And he was
Mm,
like, oh yeah, we see how much of an asset you've been. We would love to, keep you around. And so we have this meeting and he goes to the new leadership and he was like, yeah, here's this chick. She's been an intern, she's about to leave. Her visa expires in a week. We really think she would just be an asset to this, just to what this institution has. So, what are your thoughts? He's like, oh, thank you for all the work that you've done. So where are you going after this? And he's like, so what are your plans after this? And like, kind of like shuts me down right then and there. Like the former leader talked me up like, yo, you need a keeper. And he's like looking at the budget. It's like, well, it's not going to happen. So what are your plans? Where are you going after this? In my mind, I'm like, like just dying inside because I was like, yo, I ain't got no plan. And now I'm down to $100 and I'm back at like square one. I booked a one-way ticket to Barcelona because I was like, look, I gotta flee the UK because my visa is about to expire. So I just got so good at like fleeing countries and working with what I had. Because here's the thing, I never lost sight of my privileges. I'm like, I got a cell phone, I have access to Wi-Fi, I have a laptop, I have a camera. Someone needs me. I can use this to barter, to make money. Like, I'm not gonna sit in Paris and cry about not having money. I'm in Paris. I'm in Paris. You hear me? Like, let me have a good time. And what's so crazy is like, when I think about how carefree my life was back then, it's fun to be broke because ain't nobody worried about you. Ain't nobody asking for nothing. Nobody coming for you about anything.
Get creative. You could just do it without like not even having to hesitate or think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
life was simple and it was fun because I got creative with how I made money, and I got creative with like, I saw a new strength in me as well. Like, you don't know how strong you are, how flexible you are, how creative you are until that's the only thing you have to fall back on.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so now that where you are right now, looking back, what was that? How did you develop your why as to why you continue to travel, and then ultimately, started blogging about your travels, that turning into content, that turning into business? Like, was there any particular aha moment, epiphany, or anything that happened that was just like, we about to see what's up with this, like,
Yeah, so most people, like, I tell this story a lot, that I started my first blog at 11 years old. So I've always been blogging. I never saw it as a career. Blogging was just a part of my life. I'm like, I love the fact that I can own a corner of the internet and talk about whatever I wanted. Like, I could just, and at the time at 11 years old, it was like cute boys, stupid homework, really hard-hitting news. But as I grew up and as I evolved as a person, so did my interests. So for me, travel, I was like, okay, this is like getting paid to travel is the dream, but it seems so far-fetched. So let me just create this travel blog to share my stories about how I'm able to travel on like a bare bone budget, like $10 a day budget. And so just being able to create content that's like accessible to my community, because the thing with us Black people, sometimes we don't do something until we see one of us doing it.
Right.
And so a lot of Black people not traveling because it's like, oh, we don't travel, like that's as a rich white kid's hobby. And so I wanted to make it attainable and accessible for my community. So that was like the first like thing that got me started. And then I just became obsessed with like reteaching myself everything that I thought about the world, because it's so easy for us to look at the news and look at these second and third hand sources and make up our minds about cultures and countries that we have no direct experience with. Right. So I'm going to Morocco and I'm like, yo, Moroccan people are dope. Like this, And I'm just getting so excited that I get to have these like firsthand narratives with these people and these cultures that like just that was just so dope. So I got addicted to that as well.
That's amazing. And one thing I love about traveling is just the people that you meet, and the world just kind of becomes smaller in a sense of like your perception of things. And like, oh snap, at the end of the day, we are really all human, and we have the same things. We love, we cry, we get mad, what I mean? We have relationships, like that's happening all over the place. And especially now, I think everything is shut down. You're seeing how similar we really are, from country to country.
That part.
You know what I mean? Yeah. What were you gonna say?
No, I think that's a good point, because I think right now we're all being connected and bonded through like this global shutdown. Yeah. So in a way, like I feel really like, I feel a sense of community, that the fact that we're all going through this together, like I feel bonded by that, ironically.
No, I feel you. So there were definitely a lot of questions just around, obviously, the anxiety with COVID-19 and adjustments for that. But before we get to that, I definitely want to like set the context for, or just paint a picture of like you and Flo, just before, when things were normal, like what was that normal creation flow like, and without the constraints that we're focusing, that we're all experiencing, like why content, and what kind of transformed you to like really believe like that content creation was something that you really wanted to pursue and put out into the world, like, you know, at a more high level?
Yeah, I think as a blogger, you've always been inspired by the idea that you can form your own narrative and opinion and put that out into the world, like creating the media that you wish existed, you know,
Mm,
telling the stories that you wish were told before you started.
yeah.
So a lot of times I was traveling to these countries where I was having like really interesting, I'll start there, interesting experiences as a single Black woman in some of these countries. And I'm like, man, I wonder if other Black women like experience this. So I'm
Mm,
Googling, you know, Black woman in Prague, Black woman in these random countries, and nothing's coming up. I was like, yo, I can't be the first Black woman here. Like, where are these stories? Like, tell me where they at, you know? So I started writing those narratives of like, yo, I was spit at walking the streets of Prague. Like, no, like it didn't even matter what I was wearing, but I was dressed in a coat and jeans, like looking respectful. I'm walking
mm,
to a restaurant, which I later got denied entry into, you know. And so I'm like, all of these experiences, I start like, it was painful. I'm like, I go back to my hostel crying because I'm like, yo, what's wrong with me? Am I the only one? I'm Googling. I'm like, I can't find stories of this happening to anyone else. So
mm,
I like had to swallow my pride and share that story. And number one, it was a sponsored trip. So not only do I feel like I'm disappointing this sponsor by talking negatively about this city, but I'm like, look, I need other people to know, because if there's another Black woman who isn't as seasoned of a traveler, maybe Prague is her first city that she's ever explored, and she has this same experience, she's going to be shut down from travel forever. And I
right.
need to let people know, like, yo, this happened to me too. If this happens to you, it happened to me too.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so being the person who was willing to like swallow my pride and write those hard stories, like that was that became like a really big motivator for me. Like, let me write the content that doesn't currently exist.
Mm. That's tight. I mean, there's just a level of authenticity there, right? Just in terms of, you know, one, it's your story. Like no
Yeah.
one knows your story, and it's up to you to be able to tell that in a way that, you know, resonates. You know, so like, would you say that that is a component of a great story? Just that authenticity. Like, what does strong content creation look like, and kind of where does it begin?
Beautiful question. And I think a lot of like, because I mentor and coach a lot of bloggers, and a lot of them say, oh, Glow, like, why would people read my blog? And what makes me different? And I'm like, your story, because no one has your brain, your education, your circumstances, your struggle, your culture. Like, the amalgamation of everything all of your lived experiences and your background, that makes you so unique. So there can be a million articles on Bali, but people will still like ask me, Glow, you went to Bali, where'd you stay? Because it's me, right? People want to know your specific recommendations because they know like the person behind the blog writing it. So building that authentic brand like allows people to start being drawn to your work and your content because they know your stories behind it.
Right, right. Does that drive like, I mean, I guess like you said, people really resonate with you as an individual, and they're following you, they're trusting you.
Right.
From an engagement standpoint, from like, you know, your followers, like, what are the effects of that, you know, when you're telling that type of story, when you're sharing those stories and that content, like, um you know, how does that generate people really really interested in like asking you questions and commenting, and you know what I mean, like, where does that stem from?
It's this virtual family, you know, like I remember it was a couple years ago, like, you know, someone sent me a message. She was like, hey, Glow, maybe this is weird, but I just want you to know that every morning my mom pulls up your Instagram and says, come look what our cousin Glow did today. Like, I'm not their cousin, but that's how close
Right,
they feel to me
right,
because I'm so like open and in tune with like my storytelling and the way I bring people into my world. And I understand the power in that. And I understand the beauty in that as well. And I almost like, it's so fun for me. Like, it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like, oh, I have to write another vulnerable story about, but I'm like, no, this is so dope that I get to like invite people into this world that maybe they can't experience firsthand, or maybe
yeah,
they've been curious about, or maybe they've experienced in another capacity. Like, I get to give them that invitation.
yeah. No, that's tight. It's like, you know, for us as a business, you know, core of it is physical events and experiences and being in spaces. And, you know, even though we know online content is important, it hasn't ever really been our sole focus, right?
Right.
And I think one of the biggest things that I know is um, like process and consistency are like things that we personally struggle with with Toasted Life as we've been trying to get better. So I just wanted to like really get into that. I just know that, some of the best content creators that I've seen out there, people that are just like churning it out, really figured this science out and really have like a systematic approach. Like, what's your approach or process to, creating a piece of content for the verticals that you have, for your business?
Yeah, so I just wrote in the chat that I use Asana. Asana is like a project management tool. So I use that for my content calendar and content planning. And I have three verticals of content that I post. So there's the educational component. That's
Okay.
something like my IGTV stories that I did, or IGTV video that I did today, talking about risk avoidance versus risk management. And then I have a vertical of entertainment, which is like my Nigerian comedy sketches. That's
Okay.
me
Yeah.
just being
Hilarious.
goofy, showing people a
Hilarious.
cultural part of me.
Yeah.
And then I have the vertical of empowerment, and that's just me reminding people of my failures, talking about my stories, talking about things that I've overcome. Because at the end of the day, we're humans first, and then bloggers, content creators, all these other labels second. And I try to remind myself, or I try to remind my audience, like, don't put me on this pedestal because I will jump right off. Like, I am you. Don't praise me. Like, I'm in the trenches with you building. I love the trenches because there's so much character built through the grind and through the hustle. And so I try to remind people, like, I show them my daily agenda. I show them what I'm working on because I want people, I want to normalize what this culture looks like.
Right. Yeah, I know that's vital. I mean, when people feel like they can relate to you and you're not, like you said, so far away, I think that, yeah, that makes it feel good. It makes it feel like, oh, I can do that too, or I can get better at that. Um,
Zo-
so like,
Zoe
for-
said she needs an impersonation in the chat. So I'm
what'd
gonna
you say?
pretend. Zoe said she needs an impersonation. So what's dope is like my mom is blocked from all my social media. So like I'm just gonna imagine she sees my video, like, Gloria, what is this videos you're doing on the gram of Insta? You keep on, is this me? Is it supposed to be me? Hey, you think this is me? Oh Lord, the day my mom finds out those videos exist, like, consider me, like, I will personally invite you guys to my funeral. Like, I'm a dead one.
she'll probably be flattered.
My mother. You do not know
Like,
my mother.
they're really funny, and like I'm just like, wow, that's hilarious. I want to meet Mama. You know, you know?
Oh.
Nah, I was really cracking up. I remember I saw one of those. I was just like, yo, what is Glow? Like, you know what I mean? It just popped up, and I was like, yo, this is really spot on. Like, I was incredible. I was like, yeah, that's tight. Um, so for even like something like that, like people have so many different levels of where they are at with their business, let alone just their online presence. But
Right.
how do you how does someone measure, like, what does success look like, you know what I mean, or how can people just begin to measure their success, whether it's their first post on their new IG page, or you have 100,000 followers, whatever, you know what I mean, how can someone measure that?
Yeah, I love that. And I think it is so important for people to define the success on their own terms. Like, if you get caught up in the comparison game, which is
Mhm.
very natural, but man, it's so important to steer clear of defining success by what someone else has accomplished.
Yeah.
Because then your journey becomes, how can I catch up to her, instead of how can I improve myself today?
Ooh,
Like, it was so that one of the best compliments that I got is like, Glow, I see what you're doing in the travel blogging space. You're not just running your own lane. You've built an arena. You're just doing your thing. And I was like,
mm.
man, like, that
Arena.
spoke to, like, spoke to me so hard, because I really feel like I've just been so focused on serving my audience and building my brand that, like, I'm not studying my competition. They're studying me. Oh,
Yeah,
what's Glow going to do next? Because
yeah,
I'm so focused on me and improving myself. And I think it's so important. Like, whatever success looks like for you, don't make it something that has to do with someone else's journey, someone else's brand. Like,
right.
let success be better than where you currently are. Like, make that goal, but don't make it based on someone else's journey.
No, I like that. I really like that. I received that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Comparison is definitely a tough thing, but you gotta remain present to where you are and just kind of focus on like one day at a time or each step at a time.
And here's a
Yeah.
quick hack. Sorry, because I
Mhm.
know jealousy and envy, again, natural human emotions.
Yeah.
And I coach my students as well. The minute you start feeling like jealous or envious of someone in your industry, go send them a compliment. Like, learn how to turn a negative emotion into something positive and into a positive interaction. Like,
Mm.
oh man, this chick takes bomb pictures. Her photography level is so much better than mine. Let me go send her DM. Yo, sis, I just want to praise you for a second because your photo level is dope, and you make me aspire to be a greater photographer. And in that conversation, she might, oh, thank you, sis. Here's a camera that I shoot with. Here's a tutorial that I watch. Like, she might even like send you some tips. So
Yeah.
instead of like holding on to this bitter negative emotion of like, she thinks she all that, she thinks she this. I'm like,
Right.
man, go turn that into love, squash that, because you're never gonna get ahead carrying that like negative energy.
And it could consume you. I've definitely, like I said, I've definitely been there where I was jealous of a peer, starting businesses similar time, and then you're just like, oh snap, they're getting X amount of success versus my success, and
Yeah.
that can just really distract you and steal your joy
I
for
speak from
appreciation
experience.
for also what it is that you're building yourself. So nah, huge. So like, outside of like Asana and, from a productivity standpoint, are there any other templates or things that have helped you or that you want, that you think our audience would really find valuable to use for themselves?
Yeah, so I invested in a whiteboard. I think maybe you can find one for like $10, a small one, but I have like the really big classroom sized ones, because if I wake up every single morning and my goals are literally bam in big bold marker in front of me, how,
Mhm.
how, how am I not going to remember what I'm working towards? How am I
Right.
going to forget what I'm doing this for? I have my big reason why. I have my word of the month. I have a word of a month. I have the word of the month every month. I have
Mm.
weekly goals. I have monthly goals. I divide it into 4 quadrants: personal, financial, health, and content goals. And so I'm looking at that every single morning. Like, that gets me out of bed. That gets me going. It reminds me that like I'm doing this for other people.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest, Warren, like, look, I'm so privileged and blessed to be in a situation where I'm not directly affected by this COVID-19 crisis, like in my business. Like, I have income diversification. I have other things going, which where I'm not like strapped financially. I could be like, oh, I could sit in bed all day and Netflix and be like, oh, I'm cool.
Mhm.
Like, hey, all right, y'all, I'm like, how can I serve people right now? Like, I'm so motivated to like show up for people daily, because I know that that's not everyone's situation. That's not everyone's story. So how
Right.
can I just serve people for free, like daily? And that inspires me every morning.
So that's driving you. That's really driving you to keep it going.
Right.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, I think a part of that too, before we jump into the COVID-19 stuff next, like routine is such a big thing.
Oh,
I know that's big for you, just kind of, knowing who you are with your schedules and, what is your daily routine looking like, as you balance the productivity, the mental, everything in between that. Like what
yeah.
is your what's your week look like?
Yeah, and I started sharing this on my Instagram stories, but every single morning, if I don't remember the last time I missed meditation. Like, I
Mm.
use, I'll list it really quickly. Simple Habit is the app that I use. There's Calm, there's Headspace, there's all of these free apps right now. Simple Habit I personally love because it can cater to however you're feeling, and I've used it for so many years. So meditating and journaling, because if I wake up in a funk, I don't want to carry that into my work. I
Mm.
don't want to, a lot of us don't hold space for transition. Maybe we got off the phone with our parents and they made us mad and we're like, all right, let me open up my emails. And now we're capping off on our emails.
Yeah.
These emails, people didn't do nothing to us. We're
Yeah.
mad from a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so like religious about holding space for transition because I want to check myself energetically at every like point of my day. I'm like, okay, if I feel in a funk waking up, let me journal that out.
Yeah.
Journaling allows you to process a thought 3 times. You think it, you write it, you say it, and now you're like, oh, okay, that's why. Okay,
Mhm.
let me work through that. Okay, this is why I'm feeling this way. But it's just like you need that like emotional release, because
Yeah.
if you're holding on to all of these like triggering and negative thoughts, you're going to carry that or pour that into someone who doesn't probably deserve it.
Right.
So meditation and journaling for sure. Working out, I'm trying to like 4 to 5 times a week. I'm going to list the apps that I use. This is embarrassing to write. I'm writing out my goals. Six pack abs is,
Multitasking that you're doing is incredible. I'm jealous. I'm over here like, you typing, talking, like sipping, like, yo, I'm like, okay. I'm sorry. I'm almost
I told you I've been doing these like clockwork.
keep going, keep going.
No, but yeah, some devotional reading from the Bible app, looking at my goals, kind of planning out my day. Calendar is everything. Like if it's not on the calendar, it's not happening. Like,
Right,
oh,
right.
let's catch up. I'm like, is it on the? If it's on the calendar, it's not happening, because
Yeah,
that's like my guiding compass.
right.
And yeah, I always try to schedule in some type of creativity in the day, whether it's scripting, filming, producing. I'm at my best when I'm creating. And so if I'm not putting something out there to entertain, empower, or educate the world, I don't feel like I'm at my best. And I feel like I'm limiting my potential.
Right. Nah, I mean, so I just want to kind of go back real quick to just the transitioning space. A friend of mine just recently got furloughed um,
Wow.
from their position, and I was talking to him through text, and one thing that really stuck out to me that I was proud of him for saying was that he was going to just take some time to decompress before he started the job hunt again. And I just kind
Bless
of reminded him, like how important that was to just feel what you need to feel and like with that just feel, be within that space so that you can kind of become, renewed, if you will. So anybody, for you guys out there, if you know anybody that's, going through a tough time, from with the employment and stuff like that, yeah, just definitely make sure they keep their friends and family close, but also take that time to feel angry, feel sad, feel shameful, feel whatever it is they feel, but then kind of tap back into their power, So yes, I just wanted to say that. So yeah, just like pivoting to the COVID-19. It sounds like you are streamrolling through it. You know what I mean? You've accepted, you've gone through it. We as a business, we put out a Medium article, just kind of talking about how we approached it and we had to accept reality, make a plan, and take action for that plan. And so yeah, so many questions to you was just like how are you adjusting? How has your mindset shifted, knowing that there is some uncertainty? And then just a follow-up question to that: how can someone stay relevant and retain engagement online? When like the primary aspect of their business is severely impacted due to the lockdown.
Yeah. So I think it's so important, like having friends that hold it. So I talked about holding space in transition, like of your emotions throughout your day, but having friends who can also hold space for whatever you're feeling. So I think it's so important. Like when I'm feeling off and I need to talk about it, like, and I'm like, oh, okay, my therapist, I got to schedule an appointment. Like I need to talk about it now. Like I have people that are just like in my circle that just is such a safe space. And I know that I can go to them with anything that's on my mind, and it's protected.
Mhm.
So that is so important at a time like this, because I don't want people to feel like, I don't want people to feel guilty for not feeling productive yet. Like
Right.
that timeline of getting over anxiety, it looks different for everyone.
Mhm.
Like I am never, like every single morning, like actually, I'm talking about this. One morning I woke up crying because I started to think about all the homeless people and all the people that are widowed, the people that don't have family or friends in a
Mhm.
time like this.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, my heart started just hurting for them, because I'm like, man, what would it be like to go through this global pandemic in a situation like that? And as an empath, I just put myself in their shoes, and I just like cried for a couple hours, because that's hard to think about. And so I think stuff like this, it's so important to just like, when things come up, allow yourself to process those emotions, go to your friends that hold space for you to process those emotions. And then when you graduated into that space where you feel like, okay, now I'm ready to show up and serve and be there for other people. Like I keep repeating this analogy, but I think of this global pandemic as like a sinking ship, like the Titanic. Like
Mm.
if the ship starts sinking, we need leaders to like start getting the life jackets, start putting the babies and moms on planes, start directing people off, start sending smoke signals for the SOS. Like we need leaders and role models to step up. If we're all running around panicking, like it's going to be a painful and a long death, right? So like let's figure out how we can at least like develop some different type of leadership core skills in these times.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wonder, like, for the people that, also just dealing with like mental health challenges and stuff like that, and kind of get into those funks of just feeling low and just feel like they can't perform at their best.
Mm.
You talked about journaling, you talked about meditating, tapping in and tuning in, get with the relationship with God and the Bible, and are there other things that people can be doing to just, if they, they don't have the time to just like not be productive, they have to do something. Like what would you say to help people kind of get out of that funk or that low space and still work?
Yeah, focus on the next best thing. If you look at the entire next month and worry about how am I going to pay for these bills next month, if you are so focused on the problems of your tomorrow, you will never focus on the peace that you can draw from today.
Mm.
And what I love about my struggles and my journeys of falling flat, dead broke in foreign countries where I don't know a single soul, what I
Mm.
learned from that is being able to say, okay, all I need today is a bed and maybe some bread. Bed and bread. And
Right.
that's, look, bed and bread for glow. Hashtag that. Let's start I'm kidding. But like I learned to focus on my needs for just that day. And if I could survive that day, then the next day, I'm like, okay, this is a little bit easier, a little bit easier. Next thing
Mm.
you know, a month has gone by and I'm like, whoa, I did it. I, okay, I can do this. I'm capable. I'm able to do this. So try not to overwhelm yourself with the entire picture, with all of your problems, with all of the bills that need to be paid. Focus on one thing at a time that can help you build momentum to overcome the bigger obstacles.
Yeah. And I mean, as entrepreneurs, like I know obstacles, I mean, it's like life, they come at you at different times, unexpected times. This pandemic is a unique challenge, but nonetheless, it's something that I believe that we're all going to be able to get over, and hopefully better on the other side. Are there any specific like lessons or, maybe, any tough lessons that, you've had to learn? Give us maybe like one to two that really helped you, and, what did they teach you?
And the first hardest one, and I'm probably still working through this, I am in control. I am not in control.
Mm.
The sooner you can learn to surrender, the quicker peace can find it. The more quicker peace can come to your life. Like I was so focused on controlling every aspect of my life, including my happiness. I would like over optimize my life to the fact that I never had to deal with anything that I thought would bring me negativity. I'm
Mm.
like, no, I'm not gonna have that conversation with that person because anxiety. And so I would just avoid all of these emotions, thinking that I was protecting my peace or securing happiness, but I was just never really learning to mature and go through certain emotions and go through some hard phases in order to become the person I needed to be and grow as a leader and as a role model. So, surrender is huge. And then number two is like, man, flexibility is everything. Like you can do everything possible to make sure, the bag is secured and everything is going well and all of that stuff. But again, going back to the point that you're not in control, when something else happens, how quickly can you pivot? How quickly can you start a new idea? Like this is just a quick example, but like I didn't even really need to do this, but I was like, okay, maybe this might be something cool that to kind of almost like prove to myself that I'm capable of still being able to pivot. So I
Yeah.
have my sisterhood circle retreats. Is one of my businesses that I do. So I lead luxury retreats around the world for female entrepreneurs. So with that, with COVID-19 going on, I'm like, I'm still hopeful that these retreats are going to happen, but I don't want to just email my retreat people who have paid their deposits and be like, hey, just stay tuned for an update, stay tuned for a date. I was like, look, I'm going to send them an email and let them know, how can I help you now? What can I do to show up for you now? So I enrolled them for free into my current courses, started enrolling them into my group coaching, started just like pouring into them. Because I'm like, first of all, I'm so grateful that you want to be a part of my business or that you invest in my business. That's another thing. Like if you don't appreciate the people who believe in you and who invest in the things that you put on, like you're not going to last long. And so I never want people to feel like I've abandoned them or I've like forgotten about them. So I'm like, yo, let me hit up all these people who are like waiting on the world to open back up and just ask them how I can serve them right now. And so they're going through my course for free. They're going through my group coaching for free. I'm just like, yo, how can I just serve, right? So
Yeah, I think the best advice that I just been thinking about is just offense and not defense. And a lot of people are just on the defense and playing it safe, or just feeling like they need to, instead of like focusing on that proactivity to just get ahead or just try something new or try to do something different.
Right.
It's tough, but it's necessary to just keep moving. You got to keep moving. And so yeah, I know there's a lot of people tuning in that have either their own business, part-time business, or are just getting started with something and an idea and it's still fresh. So want to kind of switch the conversation and kind of talk to them a little bit about what was the most challenging part about building a career from your passion and creativity, and what were your early roadblocks?
Man, whew. Anytime you bring money into something, into the equation of something that you do for fun, and this is over 10 years of blogging for fun. And then the first time a brand asked me, like, how much do you charge for an article? What are you worth? If we fly you to this country, what are your expectations? And I'm like, you tell me. Like, I don't
Yeah. Oh no, I got
know.
no smart. What you mean? Like, give me $100. Like,
Look, my needs were so basic. Like, I was like, yo, I'm cool with free travel. That didn't last very long. I was like, yo, actually, free travel doesn't feed me.
yeah.
But what's good about that is I didn't start off asking for the world. I think an entitlement is a thing that, like, I see it so much in the industry because people get to a certain point where maybe one brand's like decked them out and it becomes their new level of expectations. And it's like, oh, you can't meet that? Boop, bye,
Right.
And
Right.
I stopped doing like group travel blogging trips, or they call it like there's fam trips and there's like group campaigns. So destination marketing campaigns, maybe they'll fly a bunch of bloggers and travel influencers to a country. It's hosted by the tourism board. You're not just like staying there for free, but you're paid like up to 5 figures to be there. And so it can be like a 3 to 5 day trip. It's a
Yeah.
great job. And you have people coming there like, oh my God, do we have to go to this museum? Like, I'd rather go take pictures over there. Like, oh, can we not do, oh my God, this food sucks. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I couldn't, the entitlement and this level of like, just because you've lucked, some of them have lucked their way into where
Mhm,
they are,
mhm,
just because
mhm.
you've gotten to a certain place, don't you ever feel like people owe you something.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, man, you got to keep that humble spirit and stay in a place where like, it's an honor to be doing what you're doing and getting paid to do it. So I would say the first thing that I really struggled with was valuation. So putting a price to what I do.
Right.
And just going from that is like, yeah, increasing my rates as I got better. Like,
Okay.
I was like, okay, I'm pretty good at this. I think, should I bump my price? And I think the first like big hurdle that I experienced, once I realized one brand was willing to pay me this, I'm like, oh, okay, this must be industry standard. So
Mm.
I pitched that to another brand, or the brand reached out to me and I gave them the same price. And they came back to me like, oh, we would never, ever in our wildest dreams pay this to someone. They shut me down so hard. Like, I was
Yeah.
like, disrespectfully shut me down. I was like, yo,
Mhm.
you ain't have to come to me like that.
Right,
But it
right.
goes to show you the varying budgets between
Mhm.
brands. And it constantly makes you like take a step back, like, oh, maybe I'm not worth this much. Maybe I got lucky. And so
Mm.
then you go back and you take a couple zeros away. Like, okay, let me stay in my little humble space. So continuing to understand your value and not being afraid to back down, even when you get like shut down from a brand.
Okay. And then so like as you're growing and you're just getting started out, like how do you create that early engagement? Like, what is it, if I'm trying to grow my audience and stuff like that, and I'm just, like I said, I'm just starting my page. I just kicked my website off. You know what I mean? I just stopped my Twitter and my Instagram. You know what I mean? Like what are those few kind of steps that I can kind of, or at least habits that I can just kind of get into right away, that could just help me kind of get off the runway a little bit.
Yes. So starting with your story, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I haven't traveled yet. And I'm like, oh, I need to get all this content. I'm like, start with where you are and what you have and where you've been. So like especially for the people that live in like London, Barcelona, like your home is a destination to a lot of people. Like never take that for granted that you can use your own backyard to create content, like not your literal backyard, but pre-corona, you can use your own city as a basis and start blogging locally or start creating content locally. Whatever
Mhm.
the niche is that you're aspiring to grow into, like you
Yeah.
need to start with your story and start with the resources that you have access to now. You can't
Yeah.
say like, oh, I want to be a travel blogger, but I can't afford to travel right now, so I'm just not going to start my travel blog. If you live in New York, man, that's one of the hottest cities in the world. You better be blogging about New York as an expert. Start as a New York niche blogger until you can get that first plane ticket abroad to travel somewhere. So just starting with where you are and what you're already an expert in.
Yeah. Matt and I talk up my business partner, for those of you that don't know, we talk a lot about just getting started. And he uses the analogy of like a rocket ship in a car. Like, in order to launch a rocket ship, you have to have everything precise. Everything needs to be how it, the weight of it, the passengers, all that type of stuff. And because it's going from point A to point B. But a car, it's like you're driving. You have to be flexible. You have to be nimble. You have to be able to adjust and swerve, right?
Yeah.
We're not building rocket ships. Sometimes you just need to get in the car and just press the pedal.
Ooh, y'all write that down. We're not building rocket ships. We're just here trying to drive our car, put it in cruise control. Okay, Roy.
Control, and like if you
Out here.
you gotta dip, dive, whatever you gotta do. But I think the process is the point of it is getting started. And I was a man of perfection. I'm a perfectionist, and like that was my biggest blocker, because I was just like, well, I can't put this out. It's not good enough, or I'm not good enough, or whatever those mental things that was keeping me back. And I just had to learn, like, sometimes you got to put it out and let the people kind of give you that feedback and give you that energy. So, yeah. So yeah, definitely resonate with that. Let's see. Um, so yeah, just kind of going back to that entrepreneur starting out, like, are there, you built this brand from the ground up to where it is today. And I know you probably feel like you're still just getting started. Right. We always feel that. Well, are there any like key foundational aspects for new entrepreneurs to build upon, that you think they should prioritize just starting out? Whether it's outside of content, but is there just a mentality that they need to just have, those key foundational things that they can build on?
Yeah, so like getting a core support group, it could be like 3 people who are on the same journey as you, because that is going to be so important. You are going to get down on yourself. You're going to doubt your ability. You're going to question why the heck you're even doing it. Every morning you're not come up with 10 ways to talk yourself out of doing that thing, launching that product, building that business. You need those people who you can just be like, yo guys, like, I tried, I'm not doing it. Like, they will call you up like, you better, excuse me, what? Those accountability partners, they will keep you going. And they also are they're there to fan your flames. There's a lot of people who like start to see you get hot, and they're like, okay, well, let me just accidentally pour this water, on you from the back. There's a lot of shady people who don't want to see you win. So you better figure out who those people are that really want to support you and are on that journey with you, so that they understand that you're going through the doubt, you're going through the imposter syndrome. Like, they can relate to everything you're going through, and y'all can all win together. Like, that's the most powerful thing.
That's tight. That's tight. There's a lot of people that had questions just around, I call it just like the fear and the failure, the fear of the failure.
Yeah.
Whether it be their insecurities, or
Right.
just being worried about putting themselves out there like that. How did you overcome that starting out? I mean, you just seem like very passionate, and just your personality is just very welcoming, but I'm sure you probably have dealt with things,
Right.
how you look, or how you feel, where you're from, whatever things that you go through as a woman too, which is a Black woman as well. How did you overcome that? How did you just be like, fuck it, I'm putting myself out there. I don't care what you say, what you think, or who you talking to. Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, how'd you get that confidence?
The sooner you can accept that failure is literally a part of the equation of success, the easier it gets. Like, I didn't fear failure. I knew, like, okay, the quicker I fail, the quicker I'll get to my success. If you try 10 things, I mean, Murphy's law of numbers, one of them is going to work out by default. Like, Murphy's law of numbers literally says, out of 10 tries, one will work. So the more times I got comfortable failing, putting myself out there, like, the quicker I knew, I'm like, okay, if this doesn't work, pivot. Like, one of my first like failed business ideas, or just failed like content ideas, was I think it was back in 2012. I started the Tap 365 project. the anonymous project. So every single day I was going to talk to a stranger and they were going to tell me like what happiness means to them. After 2 weeks, I lost motivation. And it was right. So like, but what that got me, even for 2 weeks, like of talking to strangers for 2 weeks, because what also was really hard is that for one picture for that day, because I was gonna post a new picture every single day, to get one picture, 20 people had to tell me no. Like
Wow.
that many rejections is a lot, and that you get told no so many times, it's gonna hurt you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I learned that I'm like, ooh, this is hard to be rejected this many times a day, just to get one piece of content out. So, but what I got good at is learning how to strike up a conversation with strangers, which turned out to be one of the biggest things I used on my travels to get those
Yeah.
stories, to get those, authentic experiences. So like through that failure, I learned how to really spark up a conversation with just about anyone. So learn to like use your past failures and use it in a way to like, build up a win for today.
Yeah. And learn from it in the sense of like an experiment. And
Yeah.
right, like it's like if something's not working, identify what did go well,
Right.
and adjust the things that don't go well, and
Right.
try it again the next time. I mean,
Yeah.
Jay-Z said, all you gotta be is right once. All it takes is
Look,
that one
look.
that one check, that one person to see you and be like, oh, that's tight. I want to bet on you. I want to invest in you. Or,
That part.
I want to try your product, and now you have a customer and then you have another customer, right? So I think it is important to just use that failure as not as a closed door, but
Yeah.
just as a way for you to try something different and keep adjusting. So yeah, that's nice.
Love it.
You guys said something about, getting to the bag. I definitely talk about business, money, and all of that type of stuff.
What?
For
Let's
people who
talk
are
about.
interested to know, when you landed your first, big brand deal, what were some key things that helped you to secure that?
Oof. Ooh. Okay. So two stories come to mind because the first major brand deal I landed came off of a viral article. So it's so important. So if you are like, okay, I know I'm a good writer, but I don't have the audience that I want, or only 10 people read my blog, my Instagram followers are low, you got to get in front of the audience that you're trying to reach. So like go study, go do some market research and figure out, okay, who are the type of people that I'm trying to attract? Let me go to Oprah Magazine let me go to Oprah Magazine Facebook. Let me go to Oprah's Instagram. Let me go to find the powerful people who have the audience that you're trying to get in front of and go pitch yourself to their publications. And maybe that means writing for free, but you're getting that exposure and you're drawing those people to your brand. Like the amount of like, so back then, like 2015, that was like Elite Daily, Matador Network, Bot Catalog, Huffington Post. Like I have 75,000 Instagram followers now. They probably brought me 30K
Mm.
together. I was I was pitching and publishing my heart out on those publications. They had millions of Facebook fans. I'm like, give me some of that.
Wow.
So I
Right.
was writing on those platforms, and every time they published an article of mine, my Instagram was linked right at the bottom. So if
Mm.
someone enjoyed that article, they're like, oh, let me check this chick out. And they
Yeah.
followed me on my Instagram. So it's so important to like put yourself out there and find the people that you're trying to reach, because
Yeah.
you can be amazing at what you do. No one's knocking at your door to find you. You got to put yourself out there first.
Right. One of the things that like we struggled with as a business early on was like gaining, obviously it's like a respect thing and you're trying to
Right.
get the attention of this big brand. And it's like, yo, we know we don't. Like we know we lit, but you need to see that we lit too. And you're
Mhm.
not seeing it. So how do you like how do you as a small brand or just just like that wants to work with a brand that's a little bit maybe more reputable, they don't have to even be huge, but are there things that they can approach them more authentically with to like try to get their attention or show the value to make
Definitely.
a partnership with them?
Yeah, so I talk about this on my Blog of the Boss course, and it's almost counterintuitive because I'm all about getting people their coin, getting people paid. But I'm like, yo, if you do, like, let's say you want to work with, I'm gonna just use Amazon as an example. I know people have their feelings about Amazon, especially
Mhm.
right now. But let's say I want to work with Amazon and I'm trying to pitch them, and I'm like, oh, they're so big, like I'm so small, like what do I do? I'm a write an article and make a video about Amazon on my own for free. And in my pitch, I'm gonna say, yo, and here's another like, whew, There's so many layers to this because I teach this all the time, but like you need LinkedIn Premium. LinkedIn Premium is nuggets because every single person and contact you can ever want is on there. So, you know, whether you're using social media manager, marketing director, whatever, and you're finding the contacts for them, when you eventually pitch them, you include links like, hey, Sarah, you don't know who I am, but I just wanted to quickly introduce myself. My name is Glo. I'm a content creator. I've been to over 80 countries across 6 continents. And here's what I do for my audience. Here's what I do to serve people. I just wanted you to know I recently shot a video talking about how much I love Amazon. Like, you know, check it out. It already has 10,000 views. I also wrote this article just to show my audience how much like I love you guys as a brand. Yeah. Let me know if there's any capacity you'd be willing to work with content creators, because I am so excited to continue to spread your brand's message even further. Looking forward to hearing from you back. Kind regards, Glo. Boom, boom, boom. If I'm on Amazon side and I see this woman like randomly made a video about my company, talked about my company for free, I'm like, excuse me, let's get on the phone. Let's talk numbers. Like I'm gonna be even more excited to like throw numbers at you, because I see that you've already promoted me for free, and I already see that you come from a genuine place too. Like even if like there's not a deal that works out, I mean the content's still, it's live, it's gonna stay up there. And so you gotta figure out ways to like not be so needy and greedy. A lot of content creators come to people like, hey, sponsor me, I have 100,000 followers. Hey, sponsor me, I'm dope. Hey, sponsor me, here's what I do. But it's like, what do they gain from it? You really got to come from a win-win situation of like, okay, like they have something I want, but let me give them something that they need too.
Yeah.
Look,
I'm definitely taking that email template. I mean, y'all, we're gonna send out the recording of the video, so y'all can get somebody, so y'all can get the gems, because like I'm about to, I'm hitting up somebody with that email for sure. Like that was great. So I definitely before we run out of time and stuff, we probably got like another 10 minutes or so, but want to make sure that we don't have any other questions from the audience. If you guys want to drop anything that you feel has not been answered so far, and or want more clarity on, definitely feel free to ask us a question here in the Q&A box or the chat, and answer those up. While those are populating, I do have some rapid fire, Glo. Real quick stuff. All right, 3 must-haves you look for when choosing your Airbnbs.
Yeah. Like natural light. Like if I can't see the sun, if the sun can't shine through the curtains or the windows, like in the morning, because I'm like, I trained myself to be a morning person. And so now I'm like, I love watching the sunrise, and I love having that time to myself in the morning where I'm just like, sun is shining on my face. I've got my incense burning. I've got my my lo-fi beats playlist on Spotify. Like it's a mood, and I create a mood every single morning. And if I can't get that light to help me set the mood, energy's gonna be off. Energy's gonna be off. If Glo wants to be at her best, she needs natural light. And so that was something I learned really soon. Second thing is laptop-friendly space. I'm not sure when Airbnb implemented this, but you have a checkbox now for if you need a laptop-friendly like workspace. Because if I'm working from my bed, if I'm working from a couch, I'm not going to be the same. It's not the same level of productivity. Right. And then third, a kitchen, because I need to store my Uber Eats leftovers somewhere.
Sure. All right. Next one, who are your role models? Who are your teachers or gurus, women or men that inspire you?
Yeah, I would say probably one of the first, Zim. I mean, you know Zim, like she's just such a dope spirit. And it's so dope that like, I got to give a shout out to Travel Noir, like back in 2016, like I could probably say a good 20K of my followers came from Travel Noir. Zim was religious about reposting me on that page because she saw that I was out here building this brand. And I'm like doing my best to take quality photos that I know would like match the Travel Noir aesthetic. So I was like,
smart strategy.
look here, everything I do is a strategy. but Zim was, I mean, she was really, like every other day I was like posted on Travel Noir, and I was like, man, she's dope. And so she really poured into me in my early days, and I know that I can hit her up with any questions, and she's so supportive. Danielle Leslie, which you also know, invested in her course a year ago, met her in France. She's also been incredibly supportive, and she's just such a ball of energy. You need to find people that are just like, man, their spirit and their energy is high, because you no matter what you're going through, or no matter what you're dealing with, she's dealt with it times 10, and she's got answers. Like, this woman is just a ball of answers. And last,
I love people that love what they do and like love what they're doing. Like that changes it all, because then you're like, you're bought in. I'm bought into you as a person, but you also pop in because you love and you brought it to yourself. Like, I want to be bought into it too, you know? So, that's cool. So like that last one?
Last one, Brandon Burchard. So Brandon Burchard's big, you know, he's also very expensive, but I invested in his mastermind last year, and that was one of the biggest but best investments as well, because I think there's also a lot of information and knowledge out there that isn't accessible to our communities. And I'm like, all right, what are these people doing? Let me get that information so I can make it accessible to my people. And he really just like, he whipped up my business model and product ecosystem in place. Like, I attribute so much of just my mental, spiritual, and financial health to that man. So I really appreciate everything that he does as well.
So one question we had here in the chat: how do you decide? How do you decide what is worth investing in? Equipment, conferences, etc. You know, kind of how do you make that decision based on what's going on in your business?
That's a great question. So before the COVID-19 happened and the world got shut down, I had like part of my like personal goals, it was like one networking event per week. And that could be virtual, it could be physical, but I need to do something where I'm getting in a room of fanatics or powerful people once a week minimum. And when it comes to conferences, once a quarter minimum. If it's less than that, I'm losing my energy, I'm losing my momentum. I know the power that comes with being around people who just get it, because it's hard. Like, every single day you got to motivate yourself. Even as someone who's very self-motivated, there are times where I'm like, yo, I'm gonna sleep for a week and then I'm gonna come back, you know. But you need to find people who are just in the trenches with you and are going through the same grind and hustle, and who love and that love what they do, because you get in a room full of powerful people like that. So Brandon Burchard's High Performance Academy, like that kickstarted like my last year. That was like last March. Like, that room and that event probably gave me energy for the next 6 months. That's how powerful it was.
That's incredible. Yeah. That's incredible. I'm gonna switch the question up, and that someone just posted in terms of, you know, advice for someone in their 20s, and what it made me think about was individuals who may or may not be in their stride career-wise, or haven't caught that wave yet in the way. So one is like, there's questions about finding your purpose, finding your passion. You know, what can people be doing during this time to, you know, I guess, feel that discovery within themselves, so that they might be able to come out of this with a little bit better idea or clarity for what they can do.
Yeah, first and foremost, I would say try everything. Like, you need to experiment a little bit to see what it is that like really like lights your soul up. So I always say people's purpose, the way you find your purpose is you take your passion, you mix it with your pain, and then what you're proficient in. That's your purpose right there. That's the equation of purpose. Like,
say that again.
What are you passionate about? What are you proficient in? And what brings you a little bit of pain? Because there has to be some like something triggering that motivates you. Not all motivation is positive. Like, I'll be super honest. A lot of what inspires me is proving my mom wrong, proving my Nigerian culture wrong, that success looks very different in 2020. Success does not have to be doctor, lawyer, engineer. Success can, in this age, can look like this. That motivated me probably for more than a lot of other things in the early ages. Calling my mom and say I'm out of money and I can't do this anymore. I would literally be homeless before I made that phone call. I would be homeless before I called my mom to tell her that I failed or that I quit. and that I'm going to go back to school. Like that drives me so much. So find something that triggers you a little bit about your past, about your culture, because that's going to motivate you in times that are really hard.
Okay. Wow, I love that.
Look.
I really love that.
I saw a question from Zoe a little bit earlier up, some Netflix and book recommendations. So I'm working through this one right now. This is Marketing by Seth Godin. I think, yeah, it's, one of my like really high level, she's like multi-millionaire business friends. She's so dope. She said this was the best book she read on marketing. So I'm gonna write it down really quick on this chat. This is Marketing by Seth Godin. I also just got done reading Everyday Millionaires by Chris Hogan, which is dope because that normalizes the long way. A lot of people are like, oh, lottery ticket, I want to build this, product that just like blows into $1 million. But Everyday Millionaires teaches you like the unsexy way of like how to build like, long-term wealth. And it's been a really insightful read.
That's tight. Did she ask about Netflix?
Oh yeah, Netflix okay, so Netflix, I would say it's been, what's the last, I'm really just going through the Office reruns, to be honest. I'm so boring with Netflix, but I will say documentaries. Anytime a documentary comes out on a powerful person, like I watch that. Like, so Kevin Hart's came out a few months ago. That was really insightful. Even Taylor Swift's, like a lot of people, obviously Taylor Swift, iffy for a lot of people. Her documentary was powerful. Like I'm never going to say, oh, I don't like you as a person, so I can't learn from you. So again, we got to swallow our pride. You can learn something from every single person. And that documentary was like, again, it was an entry into the music industry and some of the things that just artists go through. And I can respect that as a creative because I'm like, man, like there are so many parallels to the travel industry and to the content creator industry that I can draw from this and that I can learn from. So I learned a lot from that documentary.
Nice.
Yeah.
So as I started Toasted Life with men, we both have full-time jobs. We're doing Toasted Life on the side, trying to like figure out when we're going to take the leap. We're finally full-time entrepreneurs now, and I know there were some questions just around like what are tips for someone who does have a side hustle, a part-time hustle, but they can't take the leap right now because they have, certain family obligations, or they have a child, or, parents, whatever the case is, and they can't really take that leap. What are some tips that they can use to like start to slowly transition or prepare themselves to eventually maybe make that leap?
Yeah, education is so important. Like whether it's 30 minutes or an hour, you need to do something every single day that equips you for the next level or for that pivot. Like so much of my life in my past, I'm like, man, I wish things could change and I wish I could make more money and I wish my situation got better. But here I was sitting and wishing. Ain't nothing gonna happen from wishing. You got to do the work. If I don't feel confident in a certain area of my life, I'm going to learn. And again, we think that everything takes an investment. The biggest one is time. Time is the most powerful and non-renewable resource and asset that we each have. Take 30 minutes every single day to read articles, to research, to find out what you can do to just level up in the smallest way. If you do that every single day for a year, I would be, man, don't tell me that you can't change your life. Like, whew.
Oh, y'all don't get global passionate here. She gonna go off on y'all like seriously. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Some more.
Do you have any more questions?
I think we got most of them. Let me see. What is great, clean content to produce to help teenagers archive, pivot? Yeah, I mean, this has been dope. But like, let me know if there's any final things that you want me to cover. Incremental.
I think we're good. What we can do is, I'm going to share the questions that people asked during the registration. And if you have you'll have their contact information if you want to reach out, if you want to do anything. It's all up to you. But I definitely appreciate you taking the time to speak to us and teach us about the magic of online creation and all things branding and business. And you know, I know this won't be the last time.
I
Uh,
know.
yeah. So yeah, definitely appreciate your time and your energy.
Yay. Thank you guys all for coming. I'm looking at the chat. I appreciate you guys' time. I love you guys. I'm here for you guys. And I show up. I made a commitment in 2020 to show up every single day on Instagram to give something. And I know that times are hard. And I know that we all are trying to do the best we can to survive these times. And I promise you, my commitment to you guys is that I'm gonna show up every single day with something, you know?
Hey, hey, toast to that. Where you got your water?
Let's go.
Yeah, there you
Hey.
go. Hey, nice.
Oh, it's empty. That's how much I knew it was gonna be lit. I got you.
All right, y'all. Like I said, we're gonna send the recording out so you guys have a copy of this. If you wanna, you know, rerun, replay, do what you need to do, take those notes if you missed any of the gems. And yeah, please fill out the survey if you can, and let us know what you think. And we will be back for another 40 series next Thursday. Music, physical healing with Nana Kwabena and Wanji, Africa's curation playlist manager at Pandora. So it's going to be an incredible conversation. So make sure you tune in for that one as well. And yeah, we lit. Holla.
Thank you
All right,
guys.
bro. I'll holla at you.
Bye, 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 bye.